Attention parents and coaches. Do you wish you had a safe social media platform for your youth athletes? Fortunately for you, there's a revolutionary new app that helps with just that. Introducing Small Player, Big Play. Small Player, Big Play app provides young athletes, parents, and coaches a user-friendly sports social media platform. The app allows users to connect with friends, make new friends, create groups, text, chat, and post pictures and videos of you and your teammates participating in your favorite sport or activity. To begin, users can simply download and sign up for the app using an email account. Younger users have the ability to sign up using their smartphone and a parent's email address. From there, users can begin to interact and engage with other users of the app. Small Player Big Play app also gives users the ability to live stream full games and events. You can live stream your event so that friends, family, or anyone in the world can see you in action. Users can also share posts from the app to their other social media accounts like Facebook and Twitter. What are you waiting for? Get in the game and share your love of sports with the world. Download the Small Player Big Play app today. Attention.
You're listening to the Bulldog Hour, getting you inside the Wilson football program with weekly game previews, recaps, highlights, and interviews. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffoff.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Bulldog Hour. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mays, and sitting across from me is my co-host, Justin Raffoff.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Hard to believe we're, more than halfway through October now.
Yeah, really, and very well past the halfway point of the season, even though it doesn't quite feel like it.
No,
actually, we should be at the midway point of the season.
It's interesting because, I was thinking, weather-wise, the last night, or not last night, but Friday night, it was a little cool, but not super cold. But it was the first kind of game where I really felt like I had to kind of be prepared for the weather. Now, the weather on Friday was not nearly as bad as it had looked like it was going to be for most of the week. But that was one of those where, man, it had the potential to be cold and rainy, and it was cool, but it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was too cold.
No, it was nice,
and it did not rain. Well, I mean, it drizzled a little bit, but rain was not really a factor. So
right,
I'll take it.
Right. Yep. All good. So we're here talking after a victory again.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Positive. All good. Good times. Wilson wins against Cedar Crest, convincing fashion for the third straight week.
Yeah.
They've scored now 31 or more points over the last 4 weeks, which is a good thing. Also, defense over the last 3 weeks, giving up no more than 8 points. They've given up 21 points in the last 3 weeks, and I believe all of those scores came after the starters were out.
And in McCaskey, it didn't even come with the defense on the field. It didn't even come
against the defense for McCaskey, you're right. So, yeah, things are moving pretty good right now in terms of things we can handle.
Yes,
so, stuff that we can control, we are controlling. We're doing our job.
Yep, and that's all you can do.
That's all we can ask about. So, we're going to talk about the win versus Cedar Crest. We're going to preview the de facto Section 1 championship against Hempfield this Friday. That game will be talked about towards the end. And we probably need to talk about the power ratings because that is what everyone is asking me about. So, and by everyone, I mean everyone.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
We've got a game to recap, and we're going to start right there after we do our little announcements. So let's get right to that and thank our sponsors, May's Sandwich Shop and the Small Player Big Play app. Please download the app at the Apple or Google app stores. Again, it's free to download. It's a great app for youth athletics. They've been streaming a whole bunch of stuff, and you can hop on there and start your own stream. Stream, if you got a child that plays Van Reed or Lincoln Park, it's a great way to stream that. and they've also been doing a variety of
Or
scholastic competitions.
as like you get into youth basketball and some of those indoor activities where things may be a little even tougher to kind of get people there. Great opportunity to kind of get yourself used to the app and to use it to its full capabilities as we head into these winter months and as winter sports start to ramp up over the next few months.
Yeah, and it's a great way to do that. So definitely check out Small Player Big Play. And once again, thanks to my dad, Bill, at May's Sandwich Shop for his support, and our 2 anonymous donors. We appreciate them as well. One of which I've been talking to a lot over the last week, as we talk about good things, some not so good things outside the program, not with the program, and then just talk about what the future may hold. So it's been a lot of fun. We appreciate the support from our anonymous donors. There's multiple ways you can help us besides sponsorships, advertising, and donations. Please visit the website, bulldoghour.com. I put information up there about the game live streams, about our shows, players of the week, and just a variety of history and heritage of the program. I'm trying to update the season by season records. All that information is on bulldoghour.com. And then, of course, the last way, Justin's favorite way, spread the word.
Yeah, like and share. You can kind of spread the information that way too.
All right, we'll be back next week, Sunday, October 25th, to talk about the game versus Hempfield and then preview something.
Yeah.
We don't know what it will be.
That's right. We'll have to wait.
I have no clue.
We'll have to wait till next week.
Cannot even comment on that. I wish there was a way to have an emergency show in the middle of the week. I don't know. Depending on things that happen, I don't know. Maybe that's something we'll have to look into. We'll see.
We'll see.
So a little update on the schedule here. Obviously, what we're going to be talking about right there in the center. Game 5 against Cedar Crest, victory 41-6. And then upcoming Game 6 versus Hempfield this Friday, October 23rd. So, should we head to the video first? Should we check out
let's
highlights from the game? All right, let me pull up what Huddle has to offer us this week. Always fun and entertaining from them. Let's see what they deemed worthwhile of a highlight, because sometimes I'm wondering where the highlights are. But let's see what they got for us. All right, so Wilson Cedar Crest this past Friday, October 16th. We're skipping past Jaden's first touchdown, going right to the fumble recovery. We're also skipping Jack's field goal. That put Wilson up 10-0. Then Jaden recovered a fumble and rumbled about 25 yards to the end zone to put Wilson up 17-0. Here we got a nice big 33-yard run from Jaden, and this is going to set up his second rushing touchdown and third touchdown of the night. Will they show us that? No, they won't show us that. Why would they show us that? But here we're going to get a 65-yard run. They call it pass, but it is clearly a run. So the Huddle AI, not the best, but this is the nice big 65-yard touchdown run by quarterback Caleb Brown. And they are showing us the exact same play, I believe, again here. So if you missed it the first time, here's your chance. He did make a bunch of defenders miss, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Some poor angles from the Cedar Crest defenders to cut him out. Then some great downfield blocking.
Well, I think when he gets outside, I think the second level isn't always prepared for how fast he is.
Right.
So
at this point, Wilson's up 31-0. And then we get to see the lead extended to 38-0, courtesy of the returning Mason Leonard. He is able to get outside and sprint past the defenders to get in for a 26-yard touchdown run. So it was great to see Mason back. I do not believe he played any defense, but he was in for a few carries on offense.
Not that I saw, but I could have missed it.
And later in the game, we get to see this nice little flip-out pass from Caleb Brown. It gets a good pickup, and I believe this is what helps set up Jack Wagner's longer field goal, which was a 39-yarder. So really good evening for Jack Wagner. He had a bunch of kickoff touchbacks. He had a few booming punts, and then he had 2 field goals, including the 39-yarder, which is his season long for this year.
Yeah. He, it's always fun when they're in a spot when they can attempt, a longer field goal, and it's not like a heart racing time in the game. At least I say fun for me. Like, there's not as much stress about the field goal.
Right.
But yeah, he boomed it, and it seemed to go pretty well. Like, so I was glad he got the chance to kind of kick one to kind of show what he can do, because he shows it on the kickoffs. And the last few weeks, like you mentioned, he's had plenty of opportunity to keep booming the ball through the back of the end zone. So that's a big weapon, and we've talked about it before, but that's a big weapon. We talked about it in the Manheim Township game when he was able to kick it at the back of the end zone every time. That keeps a Division I talent in that game from having a chance to return the ball. So that's nice, because when the other team's starting at their 20 every time, that kind of pins them back, lets the defense do their thing.
Right. So all good for Wilson. I don't believe there are any significant injuries. I don't know for sure.
Right.
I know Troy Corson was beat up a little bit at the end of the game, and the starters didn't play much, if any, of the second half. They left that up to the backups and the JV, which was great, and they played pretty well. They didn't get on the board, and they only surrendered a score with 40 seconds left or something like that.
Yeah, but again, there were some big plays,
they recovered a fumble, which we thought was going to preserve the shutout.
Right, and then Tomeo had a nice
they had an
pick.
interception. Yeah, so actually +2 in the turnover margin. So positives there. But yeah, overall it looked really good. They were not flat. They started strong. They got to return the opening kick. Capitano picked it up. I understand not wanting to kick it deep. A lot of time there's dangerous returners at Wilson, but I wouldn't have kicked it to him.
No,
that was not a great idea. As he is a track star in the spring.
Right.
So
when he got the edge, he was going.
Yeah, I thought when he got the edge,
it was funny because there was
going.
one guy to beat, and he just straight up ran over him. He did.
I thought he was gonna do it, which would have been great because we're scoring on a punt block, and then on a kickoff return. That would be pretty
crazy.
Cool. But wasn't meant to be. But set up Jaden's first touchdown run of the night, and a huge game from the junior running back. It was nice to see him back because he did not play last week at McCaskey, and he contributed on both sides of the ball, scoring offensively and defensively. So it was great to see all around. Very, very strong effort from Wilson's first group. 3 straight weeks now with incredible effort, both sides, taking care of business against teams that aren't as talented as you. They didn't really have any slow. I guess the Penn Manor one was the one that was roughest early, but they got it together. They kept fighting, and they put it away by either halftime or just after halftime. But we knew about that coming into the year. We knew that Mifflin Township were probably going to be tough. Then you probably have 3 weeks where you'd be expected to win and win big. And then the section finale could be possibly for the championship, and that's where we're at.
Yep, exactly. So it's kind of played out pretty much exactly like you said, and like we've been saying since this version of the schedule came out.
Right. So that's where we're at. Wilson 4-1, Hempfield 3-2. Wilson no losses in the section. Hempfield the 1 this past week to Manheim Township in their own place. It was at the Black Knights in Landisville. Lopsided. A little bit of a surprise there. Township really took it to Hempfield 49-7. They couldn't stop Anthony Ivy. He had 5 catches for 135 yards or something like that.
In there.
They also couldn't stop the running back Clancy.
And we saw what Clancy could do. He was he's a heck of a ball player from that game that we saw him. He had a big game, and I don't necessarily mean statistically. I just mean he in the matchup this year, he was kind of their go-to guy. That's just a lot of that situational stuff. But he had a important role in the Wilson game. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, for sure. So let's listen to some of the statistics. Let me pull those up and highlight the team stats. Wilson 17 first downs to Cedar Crest 7. Wilson rushed for 249 yards on 32 carries. They held Cedar Crest to just 39 on 22 carries. They also kept Cedar Crest under 100 yards passing at 96. Wilson just a bit over at 113. Total plays, total offense, 49 plays for 362 yards for the Bulldogs, 47 plays for just 135 yards for Cedar Crest, and a couple more interesting stats. Wilson was penalized twice as much as Cedar Crest, 6 for 49 yards, Cedar Crest 3 for 14, which I mentioned just because that's surprising to me, because according to the Cedar Crest coaches, they weren't throwing enough flags on Wilson at all times. So
Yeah, we talked about that, and it was one of those where, is this something we just haven't noticed because it's quieter at games than typical? But I think that may have been part of it, but that clearly was not all of it, because, like you said, this isn't the first week of the season,
Right.
or even the second or third. Like, we're over a month in now, so like, really stood out.
You hear sidelines and crowds complain about calls all the time. But
Right.
Friday night, it just seemed
was every
very,
play.
very vocal every single play.
It was every play.
Every play. So it was kind of just odd. And I think the refs had enough of it after a
They
while,
did,
because they
yeah.
gave them a sideline warning. Now,
Right.
that could have been because they got in their way. You know, they were
Right.
in the box and they shouldn't have been. But it also could have been that they're in their ear yelling, screaming at them every play,
Right.
that they just had enough. So that was just something I wanted to point out. Wilson was penalized twice as much, 6-3, and yardage-wise, it was 49-14. Third downs, Wilson prevented Cedar Crest from converting any third downs, 0 for 10. Now, Wilson wasn't much better at just 1 for 7, and neither team converted on fourth down. However, Wilson was 4 for 4 in the red zone, whereas the Falcons 0 for 2 when they got down in that area. Now, they scored just outside the red zone, but hey, no one's
not
perfect,
in the
right?
red zone.
No, it wasn't in the red zone. So, all right, let's take a look at some individual performances now. For Wilson, a lot of people carried the ball. Remember, there are 32 total carries, and let's see, 11 different players managed to get at least one touch of the football. The majority of them went to the trio of Caleb Brown, Jaden Jones, and Mason Leonard, which makes sense. They accounted for 19 of the 32 carries and most of the yardage. Quarterback Caleb Brown had 8 carries for 90 yards and a touchdown. Jaden had 6 for 72 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then Mason had 5 for 55 yards and a touchdown. So all of them averaging over 11 yards per carry, each of them getting into the end zone at least once. And all of them had a carry that went at least 26 yards, if not longer. So a very good performance on the ground. Passing, mostly Caleb, 6 of 12, 113 yards, a long of 29. He was sacked the one time. No passing touchdowns, but again, he was getting it done with his feet, and the team didn't need him to throw the ball all that much. The leading receiver was Troy Corson for 3 catches for 59 yards. Tight end Corey Powers had 2 for 36, and Spencer Tenga chipped in 1 for 18. And let's take a look at our defensive statistics. Again, a lot of people getting playing time, a lot of people appearing on the stat sheet. The one that led the way is actually someone who played the majority of time in the second half, which was Rocco Ellig. He had 4 solo tackles and assists for 4.5 total, one of them for loss. So he was certainly flying around and making the most of his time on the field. In terms of starters in the first half, Troy Corson from a safety spot contributed 3 solo, 3 assists for 4.5 total. Eric Jackson had a pass breakup, and the team forced 2 fumbles recovered by Austin Velukovic and Jaden Jones, who returned it for a touchdown. So with that said, Justin, it's time to discuss our player of the game. And I don't think it'd be any surprise that is our first 2-time winner now, and that is junior running back linebacker Jaden Jones with 3 touchdowns on the evening, putting the game away really early. His scores on both sides of the ball propelled Wilson to an early lead that they would never give up, and he had another great performance returning from an injury, and it was great to see him back on the field. Great night for him.
Yeah, it was good to see him. He's been working there at times on defense, but Yeah, he's had a couple huge games. But yeah, anytime you can score 2 rushing touchdowns and a defensive touchdown, it's a pretty good game.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, Caleb also had that interception on defense, so he was making plays on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, that was a heck of a pick.
That one was up for a big ticket play.
Okay.
Was triple play or I put out the vote or put out the link to vote for him. I think he was actually losing to the Berks Catholic interception, which we can't let that happen, guys.
Yeah,
come on, you got to vote for the Wilson player. Get on there, check out WFMZ, and vote for Caleb Brown's juggling interception. So obviously, there's always a couple people that stand out and could be our player of the game. But when you chip in 3 touchdowns, and especially when it happens on both sides of the ball, that's a pretty strong show.
Yeah, that helps you stand out a little bit.
Deserves recognition. So congratulations to Jaden, who was our first 2-time winner this season. Good thing he's back for another year too.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
Like when the underclassmen are big contributors. So do you have anything else to add about the Cedar Crest game? Anything to mention?
The only thing I would say is that I was impressed that 3 weeks in a row they've come out and handled their business. And like you said, when they know what it should be, that's tough to do. And we don't always get to see that, like it doesn't always go that way, especially in high school football. So I like that they've just, done their job, come show up ready to go, especially with some of the unique circumstances, like at McCaskey, where like there was a clear goal of like, let's get this to where it's comfortable. And then we're literally going to send some of you guys out and bring other guys in.
Right.
Like we talked about it. That's an easy thing to kind of get off your game. But like, I like that they kind of owned it because everyone knew that's exactly what was going to happen.
Right.
Or let me rephrase that. Everyone knew that was the plan, and there was no like talking around it. That was just the way it was going to be. We're going to handle our business, and they did. And then, to be able to follow that up this week and handle your business, that's great. And then this week, like you said, Hempfield stumbled a little bit this past week. However, for the most part, this season has looked pretty strong and building, and they're going to want to bounce back from that performance last week with a lot on the line. Like you said, if they were to win this week, or Hempfield is viewing, if they win this week, they could work their way into a 3-way tie for the section.
Right.
So all's not lost for them. And Wilson has a lot to play for in that they can have an undefeated section season, so something they haven't done for a few years. So that would be an awesome step.
It would be. And like you mentioned, this is the thing you play for.
Right.
That's one of the most basic things that every Wilson team wants, is to win the Lancaster Lebanon League, win your section, especially if you can go through it undefeated. Not losing to a section team is huge, and there's the opportunity is right in front of them to do that.
Right. It's interesting because and I know we haven't talked about it as much for a few years because it ended a few years ago, but for so long those kids never lost a section game.
Right.
And that hasn't been the case the last few years, and in no small part to other Section 1 teams just being very, very good. The Township teams of late and the Warwick teams of late have just been very good football teams. There's no getting around it. You look at what Township has done, made some runs into the state tournament. You look at what Warwick, they, had their season kind of derailed by injuries a couple times, but some of those teams could have made some runs into the state tournament. There were legit football teams in Section 1 the last few years. So it's not like a knock to not run through it undefeated. But to have the chance to do that this year would be something cool, for these guys who have been on the teams that hadn't quite gotten to that point. To be able to kind of do that would be a cool statement.
Absolutely. So, I don't know. There's not too much else to say. The Wilson, I won't even say rivalry. The Wilson domination of Cedar Crest continues.
Yeah.
Cedar Crest, I don't believe, has beaten Wilson since 2001, I believe. You can say that about most LL teams,
right.
though. I mean,
And
really,
we talk
other
about
than Warwick
that.
and Township, no one has beaten
We
Wilson.
talk about those 2001-ish like teams so much, like,
right.
but we
Well,
were
like,
talking like at McKeskey. We were talking about how there were 3 Power 5 quarterbacks
in Section 1
in
of the
Section
LL
1 of the LL.
in 2000 and 2001.
Right.
Which is crazy.
Right.
It's tough to
and think about that 2000 year. The 2000 year, you had, because you add in Redding, so you add in James. You add in James Bryant.
No, not well. Yeah, I guess he was he a freshman? Yeah, he was a freshman.
Yeah, he would have been a freshman that year.
Sam Bryant.
You had Sam.
Lamar Stewart.
Right. You had Lamar Stewart. Oh, gosh,
Lamar
Stewart.
Him, huh?
Yeah, he was setting like lifting like things like crazy.
Well, so right there, you eventually James Bryant went to Miami/Louisville.
Right.
You had Sam go to Pitt.
Right.
You had Lamar go to Penn State.
Right.
Then Wilson, you had Henny go to Michigan.
Right.
You had Ian Firestone go to North Carolina. You had Andy Rowland go to Duke. You had Mike Nelson go to Ohio. Cedar Crest had Brandon Kirsch, who went to Purdue. You had Jaron Hayes, who went to Michigan State. I don't remember the name of the receiver or where he went.
Right.
But at McCaskey, you had Perry Patterson, the quarterback who went to Syracuse.
Right.
And then they had a running back receiver who also went to Power 5 schools.
Right.
I believe one was Maryland.
Right.
So the collection of talent was
insane.
Absurd in at the turn of the millennium, which we're very familiar with.
Yeah, not to be all back in our day.
But literally back in our day. Yeah. But I sometimes I feel like that 2001 Wilson team was super, super strong and just met up with teams that just were stacked.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's how a lot of the LL teams felt over the last 12 years.
Right.
Like they were like, we have one of our best teams ever.
Well, we talk about those Penn Manor teams from the early
Wilson for how long?
Almost now, growing number of years ago. But like those Penn Manor teams.
Penn Manor in 2012, 2013.
Right. The Hempfield team, the year Fode forced the fumble.
Yeah.
Or got a pick or something late.
In 2016.
Yeah.
Or 2015. 2015.
Right. Just some of those teams, man, they thought it was their year, and because there was a stretch there where it just seemed like it was going to happen, and Wilson just kept finding a way to win games that they had. I don't want to say they had no business winning, but everything stacked against you, and they end up winning. Just amazing. So
yeah,
it's exciting to have a chance to go through a clean slate in Section 1, which is like you said, that's the goal. So hey. Let's finish the job on Friday night.
Yeah, for sure. So, just before we move on, since we're talking about it, and I didn't get to highlight this on the show because it happened in December after our shows are over. But I want to point it out in case anyone missed it. Now that it's almost a year old, maybe it doesn't matter to anyone, but I still think it's pretty cool. On BulldogHour.com, I did Best of the Decade, highlighting a bunch of stuff, and one of the ones I really enjoyed doing was looking back on all the games from 2010 through 2019 and trying to come up with the greatest games, and I have them all posted with pictures and the Reading Eagle recaps and scores and why I thought it was the best. My favorite that I had as the best game was, of course, Wilson Mifflin in 2014. That was just absolutely incredible. I only bring it up because I know the Hempfield game is on there. I don't know if it was in the top 10, but I just remember it as being kind of a big deal, and I think it is in the top 10 because I think I embedded one of Jeff Reinert's tweets about it because he asked about it. Was this the night that it was going to happen?
Yeah.
It's not there yet. Oh, there's a picture of you when I'm blaming you for not being at the Cumberland Valley game. Yeah, here it is. Friday, October 9th, 2015. 8th greatest game from the 2010s. And then here you're going to see, there it is. to end the game, Fode Jallow sacks Kramer on 4th down. Wilson holds and will survive 15-9. LL record 53 wins in a row.
Yeah.
So not
is the
only was it a
record.
come from behind victory one to continue our streak, it set a record
Right.
that game. And then earlier that night, Jeff had tweeted out, "I covered Wilson's last Section 1 loss back in 2007. Bookend assignments, ? And then I quote tweeted, said, "Not this time." So that was fun. That was fun. I like that. But yeah, if you're interested in any of the best of the decades, the 2010s, check out bulldoghour.com. You can find that on there. That was a lot of fun to do last year. So,
Crazy that stretch is done.
that
Like,
the 2010s are
yes,
done.
Yes.
So yeah, good stuff. A lot of fun. All right, so let's talk about Hempfield now, because that's the team that's traveling to Gursky this Friday night. Wilson will host the Black Knights to attempt to win the outright league title, first since 2016. First title since 2018, which was shared, but first outright title opportunity since 2016. And so who's coming to the stadium Friday night? Well, that would be head coach George Ager in his first season as Hempfield's head coach. He's been with them for a few seasons as an assistant coach. Last year, they went 2-4 in Section 1 play, 4-6 overall. And they have a few guys back. Now, the biggest issue for them right now, as it stands, is they were missing 2 of their key offensive players in the loss to Manheim Township, especially running back and defensive back Tanner Hess. Not having him hurt. He's their leading rusher and their go-to guy on offense and defense. He's a big playmaker on defense, too. And also their leading receiver, Jaden Jimenez, also did not play against Township. So they had issues scoring, only putting up a touchdown, and then without these guys on defense and not being able to stop Anthony Ivy, they gave up 49 points. So it was a tough game for them. I doubt that either of them being there would have made up a huge difference like that.
I don't know that it matters 42 points worth, but it probably changes the outcome. Like, it changes the little picture of the outcome. It doesn't necessarily change the big picture of the outcome.
Yeah, for sure. So, I don't know if one or both will be back. I don't know if one or both will miss. And, it's one of those things. I don't know how long they're going to be out for. Is it going to be just the 1 week, or is it longer? I'm not aware. I don't know what they're going to try to do, but those are 2 of their big players, Tanner Hess and Jaden Jimenez. Both did not play. Their quarterback is Cam Harbaugh, having a pretty good year for them, and they are always known for their big and bruising offensive linemen. One of their biggest issues coming into the year was that they needed to find enough to go around them, because I think they only had 2 linemen back, I believe, entering the year. I think 2 of them were back. The center was one of them, and I'm not sure what the other one was. So they were replacing guys in the trenches, just like we were. So, they looked pretty good early. They lost in overtime at Exeter in the first game of the season, and then they proceeded to win the next 3 weeks against the 3 teams that Wilson just dominated. Penn Manor 40-7, McCaskey 45-7, and then Cedar Crest 29-15 the week before Manheim Township. So I don't know. Are we going to get a team that's coming in bang, bruised? They're down in their luck after losing the Township, and they don't have much left to go, and also they're battling injuries, or are they going to have a team that's going to fight for a share of the section title?
Getting, and maybe getting some of their playmakers back.
Right.
It definitely, is a question mark from that standpoint, but that kind of goes to what we've talked about we just talked about, and it's been the last 4 weeks, but we've emphasized it the last 3. Just go do your job. It doesn't, I don't want to say it doesn't matter who's across from you, because certain players mean certain things to the game plan, but do what you're put in a position to do, and you'll be fine. Kind of regardless of whoever you're lined up across from. But if you don't, or you can't for some reason, then that opens you up to potential problems.
Right.
And so that's where it may be a slightly different mindset, but the idea is that You still have to just go out and do what you've prepared to do, handle your business, and I'm confident that like if we do that, we'll be okay. Like I feel like our best effort, I feel like will be good enough. Now the question becomes like if you don't get the best effort, then what is it? You know what I mean? So
yeah, I think as long as they're not, I don't want to say looking ahead, but as long as they're focused on the task at hand and they do their job, I'm confident that Wilson will win the game.
Right.
I don't think that's cockiness. I think that's just the information we have in front of us. I think Wilson is the better team on paper. Now, obviously, that doesn't always translate when you play the game.
Right.
As the famous quote is always reminded to us during football season, you play to win the game.
Right.
Or they were who we thought they were.
Right.
All that can be said about a game like this. Hopefully, the chance to go undefeated in the section and win the section title outright is enough motivation. They don't need any other outside sources. That should be enough.
Yeah.
Go 5-1, win the section, and then worry about week 7 after the fact.
Right. Because nothing you're going to do in the game can affect that other stuff at all.
Right.
So the only thing you have to do is go win your game.
That is the most important thing. That is the only thing that matters right now is that game on Friday.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, that's the Hempfield preview. That's who's coming to Gursky Friday night, welcoming back a former Wilson assistant to the stadium on his first year as a skipper. A couple good playmakers that the Black Knights have. And this is their first trip to Gursky in 4 years. They haven't been there since 2016 because in 2018 we played them at First Energy Stadium in the Baseball Town Classic.
That was a fun one.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I can't believe that was 2 years ago.
I know. Well, I can see it, the poster,
the poster
out
on the
of
wall.
the corner of my eye. And so, like, I was thinking that earlier. I was like, man, that was 2 years ago. We have this conversation every away game, like when we go.
Yeah, every time we go. Like next year when we go to Hempfield, and be like, weren't we?
Yeah, it feels like we were just here.
Just here. Yeah, well, that'll definitely.
And hopefully we can stop for pizza after the game.
That's true. And meet up with Andy.
Right. Yeah.
And next year when we're at Millersville, that'll be another one because we'll eat at the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah.
And we'll be like, man, I feel like we're here.
Right. Were we just here? The best was last year when we ate before the game, and then we went back after the game.
Yeah, that's right. We ate twice. We ate at the Sugar Bowl twice. Well, hey, you're on college campus.
Right. Exactly. When in Rome.
Right. We're abiding by college rules then. So, yeah, that's always fun. Lots of fun. So, well, it's a little early, but I know there's something that people want to know about, and we probably need to talk about it because we're at that point of the season where the playoffs are right around the corner. And of course, things are very, very different this year as a result of COVID. Every level of District 3 has been cut close to in half, or maybe even more than half. 6A is not taking 8 teams as they had for the last 4 years, I believe. Is now down to just 4, which we've talked about in the past. That's how it was when we were in school. Back in my day.
When it was 4A, though.
Right, yeah, when it was 4A. So
it's like 30-some teams and 4 make the playoffs.
Make the playoffs. So only 4 teams are going to make the playoffs come a week from Friday, essentially. That is when the District 3 6A semifinals will occur on Friday, October 30th or Saturday, October 31st. And the top 4 teams, based on the power ratings, will make it. As it stands right now, the top 4 teams are Central Dauphin, Central York, William Penn, and Wilson. Pretty comfortably ahead of the next team, which is Carlisle, followed by Manheim Township and Hempfield. That's the top 7. Again, only 4 make it. However, if you're watching, you can see at the bottom of the screen, Harrisburg is highlighted in red. They're currently 2-0 and are destroying people, Berks Catholic and McCaskey in their first 2 games. You have to play 4 games before next Monday, a week from tomorrow, to be included in the playoffs. That's the District 3 requirement for this year is a minimum of 4 games played. Harrisburg is playing at Williamsport Tuesday October 20th, yes, 2 days from now, to get game number 3. And as of this afternoon, they are playing a 4th game this coming, I believe, Friday against LaSalle. I don't even know where that game's at. So Harrisburg will have 4 games under their belt before the deadline. So Harrisburg, unless something catastrophic happens where they lose both of those games, is a shoo-in to make the playoffs, despite their delayed start.
Right.
And they are more than likely going to jump to the top of those power
Right.
ratings, past Central Dauphin, and move to number 1. So obviously, anyone that jumps in front of us is going to knock us out of the top 4. So as it stands, Harrisburg is not in, but by the time this matters, they will be in.
Right.
And then what's it going to happen with the numbers? That was very Mario-esque. What's it going to happen with the numbers? They don't look good.
Right.
So we weren't going to talk about this tonight, but then I got a bunch of messages, including from players, that they all know what's going on. So, no, I have a file that I update and can change the results of games. And from the way my file works, unless a team loses that shouldn't lose, Wilson is in trouble, as it stands, for playing in the district playoffs this year.
Right.
And, this season will always carry some form of asterisk because it's shortened. Teams are playing random games. They've edited the playoffs. Some districts aren't even playing in the state playoffs. Like, it's always going to be weird.
Right.
The disappointing thing is that you can go 5-1, winning 5 straight, going undefeated in your section, and not having a chance to play.
And really, if that's the case, your only loss being to maybe the 5A favorite.
Possibly.
Or a favorite in the field.
Right. Now, that I don't want to focus all on us, because obviously it's more than likely that Harrisburg, Central Dauphin, Central York, and William Penn will also all be undefeated.
Right.
No losses.
Right.
However, what's kind of annoying, both of those duos should be playing each other in a normal season.
Right.
So they're essentially taking their division game and moving it to the playoffs, if it happens at all, depending on how the seeds shake out.
Right.
Central Dauphin and Harrisburg are mid-Penn division foes. They should normally be playing. That game was supposed to have already happened, but Harrisburg wasn't playing at the time, so it didn't happen.
There's also the mid-Penn, more so than LL, had teams that just didn't play some of their games. Because looking, isn't Carlisle 1-1 or something like that? So they've only played 2 games. There's been a bunch of teams that haven't played all their games in the mid-Penn. Is all I'm saying. Not that there haven't been in other leagues as well, but.
And Central York and William Penn are both in the same classification, same division in the York Adams League, but their game against each other was scheduled for October 30th, which is the district semifinals. That's the start of playoffs. So,
like Wilson's game against Manheim Township, they moved to the first week so that they would play all the section games.
So the LL League did a thing that makes a lot of sense, where they made sure that all of their division games would be played. The most important game in York Adams is not being played and may not be played at all. They at one time were possibly going to be playing each other in the playoffs.
Right.
Now it doesn't look like that's going to happen at all.
Right.
And you're going to have 2 York schools traveling to 2 mid-Penn schools is the way that it's shaping up at the moment.
Right.
So that's where we're at. There's not really anything Wilson can do that's not out of left field to improve their situation. They have to hope that one of those 4 teams loses.
Right.
It's a long shot.
Right. It is a long shot. I mean, you never know. Like we talked about, William Penn was down a couple weeks ago, kind of pulled off a crazy win when we were at McCaskey.
Yeah, against Red Lion.
There's been lots of games that haven't happened that were scheduled, and called off. And certainly, don't get me wrong, I am not hoping that happens. I don't want that at all. But I'm just saying, whether it's those teams or other games, and it factors in because it's league, Penn Manor not playing McCaskey,
Yeah, that hurt us.
Which was a butterfly effect then, because not only that, but McCaskey then
went to
played
play Harrisburg.
So McCaskey was probably going to lose to Penn Manor, right? So but Penn Manor would have gotten a win, but then they didn't. But McCaskey still gets. Oh, well, it doesn't really matter. The losses kind of adds in. The losses don't necessarily take away as much as the adding in of wins. But yeah, it's just like you said. It's been a crazy season to begin with. It's still crazy, but kind of to regroup. But like you said, you got to go out and handle your business Friday night, because how many times have we seen things happen where, like, you know, a team needs help and they get the help they needed, but they didn't handle their own business. You know, like something like that happens. Right. So
yeah, well,
while you can't bank on it, you can only control to get really cliche-y, like you got to handle the things that you can control, and that's the game against Hempfield.
Right. We need to beat Hempfield, bottom line. If you want to start thinking about the other things, here's what's going on. Central Dauphin is playing Central Dauphin East. That's an inter-district game. It's it's in Harrisburg.
It's a rivalry game, but
Central Dauphin is loaded. Right. Harrisburg plays at Williamsport and LaSalle Tuesday, Friday. Unfortunately, even if they lose one game, I don't think they're dropping out of the top 4. So you essentially need them to lose both games this week. I don't see that happening. Central York, I believe, plays Southwestern. In 4 games this year, they have surrendered a grand total of 3 points. They're destroying people.
They are.
They're absolutely annihilating people.
Loaded.
Now,
Penn State recruited quarterback.
Yeah,
new
Bo Prebula.
Right. New air raid system.
Under Gary Janczek, the head coach of Lebanon for a long time. That air raid offense is just destroying the York Adams teams. Now, we know historically, at least over the last decade, the York Adams League has not fared well in the upper classifications, especially in 4A when it was just 4 classifications, and now 5 and 6A in the current state. This Central York team feels different, but until they play someone like Harrisburg, Central Dauphin, or Wilson, I don't really know what to say.
Right.
So, but they're going to get their chance. So they thought they had their chance last year, and Harrisburg embarrassed them. Their coach ended up leaving to go back to his alma mater.
Right.
They have a new coach, and that offense is working. They look very good. They're not surrendering. They're putting up a ton of points, and they're not giving up almost anything. Right. William Penn is the outlier there. They're undefeated. They struggled against Red Lion, had to come from behind to win that game 2 weeks ago. They rebounded in a big way this past week. They play, I believe, Dallastown this week. So if there's a game where you have to hope for some kind of miracle upset, that would be the one that I would be probably paying attention to. Pay attention to William Penn, Dallastown. Other than, obviously, Wilson, Hempfield. Because if we lose that game, it doesn't matter.
Right, exactly.
But if you want to make the playoffs, you've got to win that game and then have something else happen. So, yeah. With that being said, there's a good likelihood that Wilson will be playing Manheim Central in Week 7. That'd be on Friday, October 30th. Wilson beat Manheim Central last year at Gursky, fell in the first meeting back in 2018 in this crossover cycle. Manheim Central is struggling. They are currently 1-4, I believe.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, they lost this past week to Conestoga Valley, and it was at Manheim Central. Right. They hadn't lost to the Buckskins since 2006. They haven't lost this many games since like the early to mid 70s. They're going to be missing the playoffs for the first time since like 1991 or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, I forget what I was going to say. Oh, this is kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but where have they announced how the crossover stuff will work when the Berks LL merger happens? Will that game still
I don't think they've talked about that yet because of
the craziness that happened
craziness of this year, and then you have a whole nother year in the cycle yet. Right. So next year it'll be interesting once November, December rolls around, because you'll be talking about not only reclassification of teams, you'll also then have the LL Berks merger stuff talking, which is, I'm kind of surprised they had to develop the league stuff now, because next year you're getting reclassifications, and if they wanted to keep everything, this is 6A, this is 5A, and maybe Big 4A, like however they were doing that, because let me remind you that Mifflin was like 2 people away from being bumped to 6A for this 2-year cycle.
Right.
Who's to say they won't get bumped up for the next time? And when that merger happens, why wouldn't you want Mifflin up there with the big boys? I don't understand why they felt the need to have to get this aligned 2 years before it's going to matter.
Right.
But that's why I'm not in charge of any of the league decisions. So.
And as of right now, Wilson doesn't have much say in
Wilson has no
decisions.
say, and all the
Anyway.
Berks teams being added have no say. They're
Right,
all
right.
associate members. It's not Lancaster Lebanon Berks League. It is the Lancaster Lebanon League. There
Right,
will be no mention of Berks in the league title at all. It is not really a merger. It's essentially them granting the Berks team admission for football only. That's it. That's all it is.
Annexation.
Yeah, the annexation of Berks instead of the annexation of Puerto Rico from Little Giants. So, obviously we'll be paying attention to any last-minute happenings this week leading up to the game against Hempfield.
I'm sure if there are developments, you will be on top of it.
I will be on top of it, whether it's cancellations, postponements, both with Wilson or teams that matter for the future of Wilson, or if Wilson starts adding games later in the season. Because remember, we're only at 7 games. Teams are allowed to play up to 10, and they have, for Wilson, you have 4 weeks to play 3 games should they not make the playoffs. Right now, the final game is scheduled to be at Manheim Central on October 30th. That is Game 7. They can then play games on November 6th, 13th, 20th, and 27th, or even the Saturday. They can play. You can get 10 games in before Saturday, November 28th. Now, I don't know if that is something that Wilson, the coaching staff, and the players will be interested in, or what. So once there's some clarity on the playoffs and the future, we will have that information for you. And obviously, next Sunday on the show, everything should be crystal clear.
Yeah, we should know by then. So we'll see.
All right.
But like we said, you got to handle your business on Friday night. There are things we can control over the next week, and there are things we cannot control.
Control the controllable.
Right. Yes. Handle your business.
Job.
Yep. So there we go.
All right. Before we say goodnight, let's listen to one last advertisement from Small Player, Big Play.
Using Small Player, Big Play app, the all-sports social media app for young athletes. Live stream events for your friends and family who can't be there. At home or at work, they can watch your streaming on their phones or on TV by using a mirroring device or AirPlay 2. Download the app from the App Store or Google Play and create an account using a valid email address. That's it. Now you can find friends, join groups, or make new ones. You can upload and watch your own content for free. Watch YouTube uploads for free. Even more streaming options are available with our subscription plans and in-app purchases. Download the app and start sharing with the world your passion for sports today.
All right, so once again, we want to thank our sponsors, Small Player, Big Play, and May's Sandwich Shop. All right, Justin, anything else to close out episode 11?
No, I mean, we've harped on this the last few weeks, and it comes up over and over again. Like, you got to handle your business on Friday night, do the things you need to do this week to prepare, be ready to go, and come around and fly around on Friday night and have some fun on Friday night.
Have some fun.
Fun.
Win the section championship outright. Get to fly the flag at Gursky.
Yeah.
Get your own plaque.
Yeah.
Be added to all the stat books.
Right.
And know that you were undefeated league champs.
Absolutely.
And
There's a lot on the line on Friday night, so give it everything you got.
For sure. All right, so that wraps up this episode of the Bulldog Hour. Again, we are scheduled to be back, and will be back next Sunday for episode 12, recapping the game against Hempfield and then previewing whatever the future holds. And if something crazy should come up during the week, you will best believe that we will be there to cover it. I will have stuff on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and should whatever happens require a show, we will try to bring that for you as well. So thanks for your support, and until next time, remember, go Bulldogs.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Bulldog Hour. Want more Wilson football? Follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud, or visit www.bulldoghour.com. The Bulldog Hour is a featured program on jmnjrradio.com.